Hey, let's get these ideas out. Here we go. Okay, we are free to do anything at any given moment. All right, so right now, I'm free to move my finger down. This is within my degree of freedom, and to close all 5 fingers, and to move my arm side to side, and to tap myself on the head. So these are all these like micro actions that I have the freedom to do. Now I have the ability to model the world and extrapolate these micro actions into game plans, series of actions, breaking them down into pieces and abstracting them into long-term goals, right? For me to make lunch, I need to stand up, go to the refrigerator, pull the contents out of the refrigerator, set up the frying pan, put the oil, like there's all these things that I have to execute. So utilizing our imagination to conceive of what is the some of the most radical things that we could do within the span of a human lifetime. The acknowledgement that utopia or some kind of like state of perfection, static state of perfection, can't possibly exist, because if it's stagnant, then it becomes old. And if it's old, then it becomes monotony, and monotony turns into boredom. Boredom turns into HE double hockey sticks. I mean, it's just eternal something that's already known. And so with that acknowledgement that there has to be a continual state of like change or growth is probably the most appropriate word. We become our own teacher, and we are the student. Like there's this divided role currently, and empowering our own perspective to unite teacher and student role, to expand our imaginational space. I don't think the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I don't get the sense that many people can grasp the idea that you are truly free right here, right now. You personally are free. No matter what story you're telling yourself about past or future, you are capable of right now any decision. And that's true. You simply cannot deny the fact that, I mean, barring your like some kind of physical limitation, that you are free to move this finger, right? And just think about it in the addictive sense. Like I'm addicted to something, so and so. It's like, technically speaking, you cannot do that ever again starting right now. That is within your physical capacity. That might sound fantastic given the story that a person's told themselves. That doesn't make it less true. Existing within your mind will put you, well, you become a slave to it. The mind is a beautiful servant and a terrible master. That's the quote. Okay. Utilizing it as a tool to project into the future, but not succumbing or becoming a slave to it. Why am I going into detail about this? I'm finding it increasingly important to highlight the nature of our freedom right now, and to conceive of a radically different world to exist in. Like throwing away the stuff that doesn't serve you or us or all of us or togetherness or unity, the sense of separation. Because any truly monumental event requires organization. And we know that technology can serve us in order to create unprecedented levels of coordination and organization. Constitution DAO, Wall Street, the GameStop. I really hold that, like really meditate on the fact that that is possible today. It's possible to have unprecedented levels of coordination, things that we could not have conceived of 8 or 17 years ago. Like there are things that can happen, have emerged, are within the capacity space of humanity now, and are just in like the waiting room, so to speak, just waiting for humans to do that, to execute it. It's all locked and loaded. It's ready to go. It can be done. And it just requires people to do that. And one of the precursors to this is expanding the sense of self, expanding the sense of self. Okay. So often I see people who are committed to their methodology of solution, when in fact it's going to require what we're talking about with global coordination, okay, is going to break current systems. We know this, like Buckminster Fuller already made this just astonishingly abundantly clear that we're going to have to transcend the way the world currently functions. Okay, so not just saying like, oh, that's an airy-fairy idea, or maybe one day someone else will do that. Okay, I'm saying right here, right now, consider that a possibility for you, specifically you. I could do that. I could be a catalyst for a unifying model of entire planet Earth. Okay. Now, what would be some of the characteristics of that? Okay. It would not be just climate change or just AI, alignment problems, or just houselessness or addiction studies or psychedelic assisted therapy, or renewable energy. It is going to require all of those things. The level of heterodox thinking that's going to be required, or nonlinear thinking, okay, is going to become, it is necessary. It can't not be that way. You cannot continue to plot the function of how historically things have worked, okay, to have a historical bias towards how things have traditionally worked onto what's occurring right now. We are in exponential. Something is not the same as it was. You look at any graph of significance and they are all going up, straight up. Hey, stop relying on how things were, or what your parents did, or how you should be, or what social norms are, or how this will be perceived by other people. It's still coming back to your sense of self expanding to incorporate more perspective. Okay, I need to write this down. Unprecedented levels of organization. Okay. You can't organize at unprecedented levels without radical, quote unquote, thinking. Okay. Only those who are crazy enough to think they can change the world actually do. Steve Jobs. It's true. You cannot get around that fact. Okay? If you assume that you can't do it, the answer is self-fulfilling, obviously. If you're crazy enough to think you could, that's the only way that it's even possible. Crank open the imagination. Let me say that again. Crank the fucking valve wide open in imagination. Okay? It can be done. There's nothing in the laws of physics that says you cannot have global coordination. It's physically impossible. It is physically possible. Currently, we just have a lot of people who are in physical appearance an adult, and in maturity level and emotional intelligence, little toddlers, essentially. We're going to get past that. It's just the way it's worked so far, and it's not the way it's going to unfold. Okay, continual clarity. The feedback loop of asking better and better questions, continual clarity / radical curiosity, asking better questions. Okay. Radical curiosity necessitates not knowing. Okay? And not knowing is antithetical to a static sense of self. Let me say this a different way. Okay? When you have an established sense of self, okay, it's because you know a bunch of things. Your world is concretized. Okay? To not know, to be self-expansive, okay, is antithetical to that. To have a continually growing sense of self, okay, will feel uncomfortable. It will feel it's not always, it's fluid, it's dynamic, it's adaptable. Okay. But what a powerful move. Okay. In the lens of like martial arts, to be adaptable to your opponent's moves. Okay. Water, the most, just like one of the most adaptable things possible, fits to any container. How do you blend into any environment, become capable and dynamic in any situation? The process of asking a question sculpts out the environment. Okay, you come to a novel situation and you ask questions, you gain clarity about the situation, right? You understand the environment that you're in. And therefore, you can more skillfully and effortlessly act in the environment. It requires radical curiosity. Simply, it doesn't end. There is no end to this curiosity. Okay, let's make it more simple. Okay, the fact that there is an eye, and the eye is talking about the fact that their hand is moving right now. Okay, that's endlessly curious. Like how, like we could talk for eternity in biological or neurophysiological or just every single discipline of science you can conceive of, or even metaphysicals or the philosophical implications. It's endless, the amount of ways that we could talk about that dynamic right there. Okay, and you reach, and you just get this explosion of infinity of the complexity as you expand out from just this simple motion right here. Okay. Now just apply that to the entirety of reality. Like how fascinating is it that anything exists? Of course, we've had this like brief glimpse into this deep sense of not knowing, looking up at the sky at night, right? Now apply that to literally everything, all of your day. You see this like minor facial twitch from somebody, and it's like, whoa, what does that actually mean? Let me study that. Let me come to know that better. Okay, you're playing games. You try and understand the dynamic of games. Games are a microcosm of reality. Simulations are a microcosm of reality. Puzzles and plays, movies, all microcosms of reality. Okay. This is going to lead us into redefining social norms. Okay. Again, the way things have been cannot go forward. We're watching the limits of how we function as cultural or societal systems begin to reach their precipice, their load-bearing capacity. Okay, something new has to evolve. It's going to require What I suspect is historically, societies or civilizations had a lifespan to them. So like the models reach their, like their lifespan, and then civilization would collapse. Because of the nature of how much information is available now and how quickly humans are learning, what we are going to be doing is being in an updated living system, okay? We're going to watch the actual political landscape or the economic landscape or the governing landscape, ownership landscape evolve before our eyes. Faster and faster, they're going to get updated, okay? Again, the historical bias is not serving us any longer. It's not useful to try and project out what sort of political system we should be adhering to for the next 250 years. We have to create something that is more adaptable, okay? Because things are not slowing down, okay? Things are moving exponential. I can't say this enough. I can't really put enough emphasis on this, that we cannot continue as business as usual. It's not possible. It can't be done. I mean, unless we want to watch the world blow up or implode on itself because it's not functioning well enough and it's overheating. If you look at the world as a system similar to an engine, okay, it has constraints on it, and it serves a function as a result of its constraints. That gives it the ability to serve a function. And if it's not able to process or metabolize its own function fast enough, okay, it begins to overheat and shit goes haywire and things start to break. This is not rocket science. This is just like the remarkable grasp of the obvious. Okay, you have to have more people who are participating in updating models, conceiving of new ones, immersing themselves in it, okay, metabolizing it, and then moving forward again and again and again and again. It does not end. The learning doesn't end. The relationality doesn't end. The sense of self does not end. And I'm going to withhold any metaphysical comments. I'm just talking about physics as we understand it currently, okay? This doesn't even get into the fact that, like, whatever, I'll just hold that all together. Fast, alone, slow, and far. Far together. Cool, you can go really fast by yourself. It's not about any one of us. We already know this. Can really dispel that. If your function is not including more people, okay, and attempting to refine the process of being more and more inclusive, we're not talking about the same thing, okay? Whatever it is that you're participating in, its function should be, how does it incorporate and acknowledge and give a voice to more diverse people more often? How does it hold heterodoxy and complexity and distill it into a higher and higher level of coherency? Last thing. Bit, not brainwashing. Okay. This is not to be confused with an ideology. This is probably appealing to stage red people, what I'm about to say. Don't conflate this with some kind of ideology, okay? To update a model is the exact opposite of an ideology. Okay? Ideology is a static thing. It's coveted, it's the map, not the territory. The territory is infinity. Immersing yourself in infinity is being in the territory. It's not a static thing. It's not an idealization, coveting an object or coveting a concept. And it's not external. Again, what I'm describing with a sense of self is intrinsic, moving outward, that your relationship to more and more things are more and more true. You understand the absolute nature of your relationship to everything around you. Okay. And that, again, can't end because it's infinite. And there's a level of like, push. I'm like all in this thing until like, something goes wrong. The proverbial fall off the horse. Okay, it's all broken. Like, okay, yeah, I understand. We have our moments of challenge, right? And then we got to get back on the horse, or you're kind of checked out, which is cool. Like, I understand that as reality is, we have, traumatic experiences and we need to like just breathe, right? But as you become more empowered, that discrepancy, like how far you fall off the horse, like does it just like take the absolute wind out of your lungs or wind out of your sails, or is it like, oh, I've been through some shit. I've seen a couple things. I know how it works. It's not over. It's not over. The game's not over. I can do this. And even so, as we surround ourselves with more people who have that empowered mentality, right? More and more often, okay, it raises the vibration, so to speak. Right? And I don't even mean that necessarily metaphorically. There's a literal sense of that. Just like the level of excitement and like curiosity just keeps on cranking up. Because we see it, like the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So commitment to historically, if we're going to redefine social norms, what was a challenging conversation? Okay. Oh, here we go again, right? It's like, no, I mean, what we're really talking about is it's not that ridiculous. It's not that outrageous. Like, just breathe. We're just talking words here. Like, it's okay to express ourselves because there's literally nothing else to be done than to like try and be more self-expressive and to understand another more completely, because that's the only thing that's going to generate higher levels of coherency and harmony between us, is to actually grasp each other's experiences more profoundly. little bit of duh there. So this is my nod to stage red, maybe. All right, I'm gonna call it good there. Love y'all. Take care.